Good day, everybody, and welcome to lesson 9. From these lections, lesson 9 and the next one, lesson 10, we will introduce about basic fundamental knowledge on JavaScript. And you also further learn about jQuery and how to use jQuery to travel through your HTML documents. And this lesson learn objective for today. So first we will go through a bit history of JavaScript, the run of the JavaScript in modern web developments, and we also learn about why we want to use JavaScript. The script, as other HTML elements, it is the fundamental start for writing any script. And we also learn about the overview of JavaScript as a language on the basic grammars and syntax. And we will see through real examples to use JavaScript writing small functions, procedures, and to use JavaScript to handle some browser's events. JavaScript uses an event-driven model of executions. When we embed the JavaScript code in a web page, it is not run until the event is associated with it is triggered. And the types of events that can call JavaScript is, for example, loading a page, leaving a page, interacting with the forms, click a link, and so on. That means when we click a link, it can call a JavaScript function to do something for us. For example, to display or to hide some HTML elements, or to do some simple calculations. JavaScript, as you can see, is also a high-level programming language like Java, like C Sharp, or Pythons, or also other kind of programming language. And you can see it is also seen as one of the three main pillars for modern web technologies. We have HTMLs, which provide the basic page structures and content, and giving the base level of interactions for the web. We also learn about CSS, which give web page designs, look and feel, and provide a simple interactivities. For example, we learned already about animations, make the things move with the progress bar. You see that certain thing might change the status in a very simple way. But the final core technology is JavaScript. So this scriptable page and is manipulate high-level interactions in your website. So, for example, when we enter information in the form, it can help to validate the form. Then can also do a lot of animation stuff. And people also even writing games using JavaScript language. So as you can see, modern websites and web applications. So it means also doing mobile applications, also like for virtual reality or robot application, as is a latest trend nowadays. Can use these three technologies to write. So it's very important to know all of them. And you should be aware of the difference between Java and JavaScript, even that they have the same word Java, but they actually are not related to each other, or they are completely different. They're different languages and also different in terms of the concept and the design. So you learn about Java already, or you will going to learn it. Java is an object-oriented language. That means it simulates to the real object in the real world. But then in the other hand, JavaScript is an event-driven model, so it doesn't have the object type or used very rarely. Compared to other programming language like C, C++, Java, JavaScript is very easy to start with. You can add an useful behavior to your web page with just a little bit of JavaScript function, JavaScript code added to, for example, an on-click attribute of a link. No setup is required, and it is built right into your web browsers. You also can see the results or see the debugging log right inside your net browsers. But if you think about Java, for example, you need to install the compiler, and you can use the specialized tool editor tool like Java Bean, NetBeans, or Eclipse. But you can also, of course, using more simple editors, but you need to do extra configuration to link it to the compiler. So it's more work to do. And the other thing is Java provides user feedback instantly. You can use JavaScript to load resource when users need, rather than when the page first loads. You can use JavaScript to change only a part of your page that need to be changed when the users interact with it. This technology is called Ajax, and it is the fundamental foundation for later modern dynamic web technologies. So, but we will not cover it in the scope of these lectures. But it's maybe if you would like to know further, can provide more reading materials. What we can do with JavaScript, for example, we can control our browsers, changing the size of our browser windows, move the browsers windows around the screen, and so on. So it have quite a large power. So it's quite powerful in interacting with your computer, isn't it? JavaScript is also supported by all web browsers, so Chrome, Safari, Mozilla, Internet Explorer, etc. And nowadays, JavaScript is so popular, so it's not only using in the client side, as we mentioned before, but also they have the JavaScript code that implemented in the server side as well. So what we call Node.js is very popular server-side programming nowadays. And Angular and React is a client-side framework that have already built-in libraries and frameworks, so you can just use what is there, and it's easier to write a professional website. And it is the actually common practice nowadays. We're not writing from scratch like you have done with the first exercise, but instead we are building our application on top of existing frameworks. And we use JavaScript not only for computer-based applications, we also write for mobile apps, writing games, writing for cyber physical system like Internet of Things, robotics. Even there's a virtual reality application written in JavaScript. For the motivation purpose, you can see for the chart here. So this is the latest survey done by Stack Overflow. So you know this is a very popular forum for professional developers. 64,000 software developers have participated in answering the survey. And one question asking what's the most popular programming language? And you can see that JavaScript is the one on top. And Java is also important, but it's only at the third, and the fourth is C#. So it is always good to know about JavaScript in any circumstances. I can show you an example of what we can do with JavaScript to make you understand better. So this is a example written by Justin Window, which you can easily find from GitHub, and he wrote what called 30,000 particles, and we do certain CSS formatting for the sections and for the information appear, but the main part is the JavaScript code. but also it's not so much compared to what it can be shown. So when we move our mouse over the rectangle as designed here, so you can see it creates a very beautiful animation. We also use JavaScript to write a game. It can be a very complex game, but it also can be a popular web game like Flappy Bird. This code written by the guy Nicolas Rojas also can be found on GitHub, and I'm sure that all of you or many of you are very familiar with the Flappy Bird game, which is used to be a very trendy game in both Google App and App Store. And of course, this guy he built his game based on many external JavaScript libraries, as you can see. But most of the part is written by himself. Uh, so we use JavaScript in the same way that we use the CSS in the HTML. So in order to link your HTML file to an external JavaScript file, we use the link tag, like we use the same for CSS. But in case we want to write JavaScript code right inside the HTML page, we use the script tag. So this is similar with the style tag we have for CSS code. So as you can see, we write the script, opening script. We type the type text JavaScript. This can be auto-generated when you use Sublime. Use TypeScript and tab, and it will show you the whole thing. And you have to remember that we have the opening script tag, and then we need to close it as well by the closing script. Okay. Yeah, so in order to link the JavaScript with the external, to link your HTML page to the external JavaScript file, we provide the source via the srcs here, and it can be a local file in your computer, but also can be a JavaScript file available over internet. So before HTML file, it is standard to put the script inside the head part of your documents. So the head here. However, with the HTML file, for performance reason, it is recommended and it's actually always better idea to put the script tags on the bottom of the page. So we write everything, of course, between the body tags. But then in the end of the page, we write the JavaScript code. So any JavaScript line starts with a double backslash will be treated as a comment and ignored, like this one. But this comment is only valid when it stays inside the script tag here. And if you see, it is different from the HTML comments because we use this symbol instead of the double backslash. So to remind you again about the basic structure of a web HTML file, everything needs to be wrapped between the HTML and closing HTML tag. Before that, we need to have the doc type, which is HTML, to indicate this is the HTML file document. In the head part, we must have the titles. I need to give some title here, but the head tag should not contain more than that. Also can contain a metadata or a link to external files, but no more than that. Every other code, every other HTML elements should be stay within the body tags. So I would like to show you from here the demonstration. So this simple basic HTML5 documents, and I embedded the script, a piece of script inside the body tag. Of course, we can put it here, for example. We open with browsers, and when we see the code again, it says that now we show an alert form with the text "Hello World" when we open the page. Without any given informations, it will do it right when the page is loaded by the net browsers. And this is what we have. And this text will appears after the alert form shows. So as you have seen, we use an alert box to show the outcome of a JavaScript code. There is other ways to display the JavaScript outcome as well. So we can write directly in our HTML documents, which means using JavaScript to generate a part of your page for you. For example, we can use the inner HTML object to write other HTML tags, other text, numbers, or any other things can be written by yourself. And I will show you later, little later. And we use a document write in the same way with the inner HTML file, HTML. We can write the HTML output using document.write. Now the third one, which we have already demonstrated, is pop-up an alert box with the content linked inside the alert tag here. And the fourth one is more like for debugging mode. When you write reason inside the log, it will appear in the console of your web browsers. So here I'm writing simple examples. So I call on this page first JavaScript functions, and I write this in the head, and then in the body I start with one heading H1, and I give it an ID show here. And after that I start now writing a code. So I put every code that I want to write in between of the two opening and closing script tag. And here I demonstrate four ways. I will demonstrate four ways of using showing the JavaScript outcome. So this function will reserve a given number. So as you already learned about the functions, it takes one input variables and return an output variables. So this have done a very simple thing. So first I will convert the numbers if it's given in an integer or it's in the different number format into a string format by adding in empty characters in the end. So this automatically concasts the number into a string like 12. And then I do a complex thing here with the line 13. So first I will split the numbers by the space, by the empty space. That means this will be put in an array, a list of characters, and I reserve the list of the characters, and then I join the array of this character into a final string. So as you, if you are aware of the difference here, the function take in the integer, the input as a number, and it given the output. It looks like a number, but actually it's a string. And firstly, I will show using the console log. So, so for example, with this example, we need to we need to show the result is in the other way around, which is 3 4 2 2 3. So let's open it in browsers. You're not seeing anything here because it appears in the console of my web browser. So we go to flat vector and we choose the vertical vector. So you see in the console page. So this value appear here. So in case you find it's troublesome of using console log, you might not using Chrome, but maybe Internet Explorer or lower previous versions of net browsers, which is not easy to access to the console log. We can use alert. We already know. Opens. So it show here. So it's not only in the console, but it show now. I can start writing already. For example, I can write the number. It will output straight away to the HTML file. So in this way, when we use document.write, we have no chance to link it to the existing HTML code we have. So it should also show a number here. Or if we use document get element by ID, so this is the way I would recommend, because you can link the results right into the existing document, existing HTML element you have. Save it. Now you have the number appear in a heading level.
From these slides, I would like to introduce the fundamental blocks of JavaScript as a programming language. So the first and most basic elements are statement. A computer program is a list of instructions to be executed by the computer. So in the very native level, the instructions appear as a series of 011 numbers, like 00111010. So this only understandable by the computer, so and difficult and almost impossible for human being to immediately interpret it, the meaning. And to make it easier for us to understand and to program, we are creating a higher level programming language, which writing what we call statements. So the statement is actually the high level program instructions, and via the compiler, the statement will be translated into the machine languages, or like series of numbers. And so JavaScript is programming language, and JavaScript, we have JavaScript statements. So all of the lines are writing down, you see in the screen are statements. So the statements are ended by the semicolons in JavaScript. And the JavaScript statements compose of typically values, operators, expressions, keywords, and comments. So you see these appear all of these components in this for a line of codes. And now we want to mention about the expressions here. So expression is a part of statements. For here you see that the expression x plus y, the right hand side of the assignment, and that equal to x plus y. The table besides give more operators provided by JavaScript. So we have all the fundamental basic operators. For example, plus, we're giving a summary of two numeric values. We can also combine two strings using the plus. So minus is in the opposite of plus. It's giving the like subtractions of the numbers. Multiplies and divisions is on available. Besides this operator list, there's other operators as well. And the operators operate among variables. So a variable, for example, you see here the message is one variable, the one in red. The sum is another variable. First name, last name, name, their own variable. To declare a variables in JavaScript, we start with the var. The keyword var indicating that we are reserving a number of memories or slot of memory for the sum variable. Creating a variables and retrieving their values is simple in JavaScript if comparing to other languages. And for example, here we declare and also we assign the value for the message variable, which is also message, and we use one of the 4 methods mentioned before to display the message. For example, we can use the alert to put the message text inside the alert box. So this is another example where first we declare the variable sum, and then we have another line to assign the value for the sum variables. So after this assignment, the sum will take the value of 10. So we can like these 2 ways. Either we combine the initiations and assignment in one line, or we can separate it in 2 lines. And there are several rules when we are creating variables. So you know that in all programming language, you need to have a certain restriction on how you can name variables. In JavaScript, all variables must be identified with an unique names. So the names can contain letters, digit, the underscore character, and the dollar signs. The name must begin with a letter, which means you cannot start with a digit. The name can begin with the dollar sign or the underscore, and for normally we use the underscore like in some language to indicate that that's a local variable, so not a global one. But we will talk a bit more on this in the coming lectures. In JavaScript, you need to aware that the variables are case sensitive. So for example, the name with a small y and capital Y are different. You cannot use the reserved words, for example, like a var or y or some other reserved keywords to name a variable. So this is the same in any programming language. And for the matter of style, a JavaScript variable should begin with a lowercase letter. So let's do a small test here. We have 5 declaration for variables. Let's see which one are a valid variable names. So the first one is an invalid name because we start with a number, with a digit. The second one are valid because they are 2 different names. The third one is okay. The fourth one is not correct because true is a reserved keyword and y is also a reserved keyword. And for any programming language, you need to know a logical flow. When we write the statements, we will normally the computer will execute a statement one by another from top to down. But the logical flow will give you like different branch and there different way that a certain group of statement will be executed, but not another's. So the first and most simple logical flow if statement. So in case you have learned about Java already, so this can be like a repetition for you. But if not, you understand that the if statement will execute a block of code that stay inside the if declarations in case the condition a certain condition become true. So the syntax appears like in the left hand side. We always start with the if keyword first, and we write a boolean condition, booleans like expression inside inside two brackets. And the boolean expressions are the expression that have only two values, true or false. And in case the boolean expression become true, the block of code inside this bracket will be executed. See the example in the right hand side. So first we declare variables and also assign the value 20 for it. And we're asking if the age variables larger than 18, then we will do the statement inside the if statement. So if it's larger than 18, we will write down in our HTML part is less string. So in this case, because we already assigned the value is 20, so this appears to be true. The expression is boolean expression appear to be true, and that's why we actually execute the document write statement. But normally the values of age coming from some other place, and it will be checked here. So we note that JavaScript case sensitive language, so that means the smaller if is the only valid way to use an if statement. So if you write if with capital I or both capital I and F, will generate a JavaScript error. And the full size, full versions of the if statement will come with the else expression in the end as well. So we have if and else. So else happen in the case of the condition mentioned in the if statement become false. So when it fails the condition here, then the block of code inside the else going to be executed. The expressions inside the conditions, the must-have part is a comparison operator. And I'll give some examples of the possible operators can be used in Boolean expressions. It can be different in different language, but you should be aware that it might be overlapping with the list of the operator using in Java. And for example, the double equal sign giving description of the equal to A equal to B tests whether if the two values of A and B the same. And not equal to, we replace the first equal with the with this, and see if whether A does not equal to B. And of course we have the less than, greater than, also less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. So for example, 1 equal to 2, so these expressions will give the outcome, the output is false, and when it's failed, it's not execute the code inside the if we have, and instead it will run the else block we have in the full versions. And in the same way, 5 larger than 3, this is true, so it's return the true value. The most important and probably the most used logical flows in all kind of programming language is a loop statement. Sometimes we want to execute a block of code more than one time, and we can run the same code over and over again, each time with a different value. For example, here we construct paragraphs we want to add counting of the queue numbers from 1 to 9. So in the very traditional way, if we don't know about the loop statement, we need to write the first line of code, and then we add the text, add the string to the text variables, and when we repeat this step like 9 times. And when we use the while loops, we can reduce the effort of writing all of this by combining it in this like 4 lines of code in the right hand side. So the while loops will loop through a block of code which stay inside the brackets as long as the given condition is true. So for example, in this way, we initiate the I as a counter. We first give it the value of 0, for example. And why the value of y is smaller than 10, we repeat the example. We repeat the actions inside the while block to make sure that the loop will end at some point in time. We increase the value of the y or increase the counter in the end of the action we want. So this code will be written that we add the string the number is with the changing counting value of y, and it's repeating, and when I increasing and reaching to 10, so we stop the action. So it's equivalent to all the text, all the code we have in the left hand side. And then this is the syntax of the while block, and this is the logical chart about what actually happens. So when we test the expression, we have the condition is also the test expressions. When it fails, we stop the code inside, so we did not operate the code inside the while section, but we run the statement like outside of the while block. But when the condition is still true, then we loop the action that appear inside the while block. I want to mention several common issues we can easily make when writing the loop. It's because loop is a powerful tool for writing code, but also dangerous because you can ending up with never finish a loop. So the first issue is you forget to initiate the variables used in the loop. So for example, I already did it in this case. Look at this example. So this actually we are missing the declaration of y value. Also here, if we are not saying the context of the text before, then we also not declaring the text, and we use it already inside the loops variable. And the second thing is look at this example. If we don't increase the counter the y variables, then the y will appear forever and it will not execute any code after this. So this is a problem of never finished loop, and this can be because of using the wrong comparison in the conditions. So this is critical, and we need to look carefully at that. And another issues can happen is that we include the statement inside the loop that belongs actually to the outside of the loop. So that means either these statements appear many times, or it will never have chance to be executed. So let's look at the example here with the loop statement. So the first one we already explained about it. So we increase the counters, and we're adding the text continuously add to the text variables. And instead of using the while, we have another loop statement we can use, which is for. So we see the syntax of the for statement as below. We firstly also declare about the for, but different with the while statement, we also assign the value for the counter. So we assign it to 0. We also say that the stop condition. So we only execute the code when the y is smaller than 10, and we also have the increasing the changing actions to make sure that the loop will end at some point. So in this case, we rather call it the iteration, because on the starting point, the actions and the stopping condition are all clearly defined. And the effect is exactly the same with the while loop in this case.